Okay. Next, we have a question from Bogart that I've often wondered myself, which is how can you use the temporary strategy of managing urban vacant land to promote more sustainable and long-term development?
Repeat that question again.
Sorry. How can you use the temporary strategy of managing urban vacant land to promote more sustainable and long-term development?
I think that one thing I will say that I think that Mayor Street has done successful around neighborhood transformation is bringing together the vacant lots with the idea of the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society in terms of the greening of these particular locations. And I think through greening these particular locations, you do a lot for a community that normally people wouldn't even look at that particular community. And I think once you do those kinds of investments, and I've seen some of them along Ridge Avenue, Cecil B. Moore Avenue, I can point to some locations. And once you begin to open up those particular spaces, I think that people, the question is, how do we strike a balance between growth and development and preservation? I mean, the mayor of Boston, Mayor Molino, I think does a very good job between striking a balance between growth and development and preservation. Because I do believe you need open space. I don't believe you need to grow. I don't believe you need to develop on every piece of land that we have, because I think that takes away something from the quality of life. So when you talk about the issue of sustainability, what I do believe is, yes, we do need strategic investment to grow jobs, for housing and other kinds of initiatives, but we also need open space. We also need flowers. We also need trees. I think that has a lot to do. There used to be a good friend of mine named John Allen, who was head of Freedom Theater, who died many years ago. And he used to always say to me that, those of us in politics, we always talk about things like welfare and violence. But he also used to talk about the heart and soul was art and culture. Well, the same thing I feel about greening initiative. It is about the heart and soul of all of us, that we need to take care of this environment, because this environment has obviously taken care of us for a long time, and sometimes we have not, as people, been as caring as we should be or could be about the environment.
All right. We have another non-environmental well, it is still an environmental question, I'm sorry. It's from my co-blogger, one of our co-bloggers at Young Philly Politics, MDC Philly. It's Michael Cunningham. And he asks, what particular steps would you take as mayor to help secure dedicated funding for SEPTA? And what are some of the options that exist for securing funds?
Thank you. That's a good question. I just had a discussion about that in Harrisburg today. I think there's a number of options. First, you're correct. Transit is a very important part of the environment also. When you begin to think about the importance of transportation, what it means to this region, what it means to the city, there's a couple options. First, long term, I think that we need to change the Pennsylvania Constitution to allow the gasoline tax not to just be used for roads and highways, but also used for transit. In Washington, D.C., gasoline tax can be used for transit as well as it can be used for highways. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think that the governor has put a proposal on the table, and we're looking at it, the idea of the raising the tax on oil profits as a way to dedicate it towards mass transit. There's the personal income tax, there's the sales tax, there's all of these things that are available. But in addition to those revenue sources available, we also need to ensure that we have transit development, which is also something that is very important, that we put a connection with our transit in terms of development of our areas. Because you're correct. When we look at it, transportation is very important to this city and this region and moving it ahead. And I just don't think we have had a transportation strategy. I would do something similar to what Governor Rendell did. Governor Rendell, which is a recommendation, as a matter of fact, that I gave him, put together a committee to look at transit, highway, roads, and bridges together. I think what we're lacking in the city of Philadelphia is we talk about transit from a city perspective, and then we talk about transit from a suburban perspective. They're all hooked up as one. It shouldn't be transit in the city and then transit in the suburbs. It should be transportation in the region. SEPTA was created in 1964. and was created when the PTC, it was a private company. Jerry may remember those little green buses and stuff that we used to have at that time. It used to be a quarter to ride on it, but I don't think we have brought it together streaming. So the first thing I would like to do is make sure we have a coherent strategy of how we're using transportation in conjunction with automobiles and air. I have a section in my green paper where I talk about a form of smart growth, and that transit is also very much a part of when we begin to talk about smart growth.
Okay. The next question comes from Jane, who asks, "What would you like to see included in a regional flood prevention plan?" I don't know if you have a very particular question.
No, that is a particular. Jane, I admit to you, you may have to give me some ideas on that, Jane. I would be open if you have some ideas, because that's not a particular question that I would have for. I mean, the closest I know a little bit about that, Jane, is from my own house. I remember there was rainwood, fallwood. And I found out that I couldn't get flood insurance in my neighborhood. But I say to you, I'll be open for your thoughts. You got my website. You can just send me some thoughts and ideas on what you think should be a part of it.